My friend, have you ever reached a place so shattered, so overwhelmed by the weight of life, that your soul was screaming in silence while your lips could not even shape the words? Have you ever lain awake in the quiet of the night, looking into the darkness not only around you but deep within you? Have you ever felt your strength vanish, your hope blown in every direction, and your sense of self swallowed by the storm? If that is where you are now, or if you have ever known that place, then listen with everything in you, because what you are about to hear is not merely a speech, not some passing encouragement, but a call to breakthrough, a divine invitation to restoration through the power of prayer. Not just any prayer, but the kind that rattles the gates of heaven and sends holy fire into the soul. The prayer of breakthrough for total restoration. God does not leave His people in ruins. He does not walk away from what He formed in love. You may feel abandoned. You may feel forgotten. But the truth, the eternal and unchanging truth, is this: God restores. He breathes life back into what seemed dead. He rebuilds what was broken apart. He revives what was crushed. And He does it in ways that go beyond logic, surpass understanding, and break through every limit. But hear me carefully now. Restoration does not happen casually. Restoration is brought forth through prayer, not through hollow words, not through empty ritual, but through soul-deep, fire-filled, mountain-shaking, heaven-reaching prayer. It is in that holy place where your tears become your voice, your pain becomes your offering, and your faith becomes your weapon. There is a kind of prayer that moves the heart of heaven. There is a cry so deep that it shakes the unseen realm. And when that kind of prayer rises out of desperation and trust, God answers. Not because He is distant and needs persuading, but because prayer brings your spirit into alignment with His power. Restoration does not begin with your strategy, and it does not begin with your strength. It begins on your knees. You want breakthrough? Then you must learn to pray as though your very life depends on it, because it does. Let me tell you plainly, my friend, many people cry out for blessings, but only a few truly cry out for God. Many chase the gift, but ignore the giver. Restoration is not just getting your stuff back. It's getting your spirit back. It's when God picks up the shattered pieces of your soul and makes something stronger than what existed before. But you must go to Him not with entitlement, but with surrender. Not with demands, but with devotion. The breakthrough prayer is not a shopping list. It is a spiritual war cry. It is when your heart says, God, I am not letting go until you move. I am not giving up until you answer. God listens to the brokenhearted. He sees the crushed in spirit. He knows the weight you carry, the disappointments you've buried, the nights you've cried yourself to sleep. And He is not indifferent. He is not silent. He is not slow. He is strategic. He is precise, and He is faithful. But He moves in response to faith-filled prayer, the kind of prayer that tears through the noise of this world, the kind of prayer that shuts out fear, silences doubt, and declares, God, I know you still have a plan for me. You must stop praying weak prayers if you want strong restoration. This is not the time for passive petitions. This is the moment for bold declarations, for prayers that come from the depths of your spirit. You've got to learn how to pray when everything inside you wants to quit. Pray when your heart is numb. Pray when the answers are delayed. Pray when your enemies mock you. Pray when your family walks away. Pray when your own mind betrays you. Because every time you pray, you are building an altar before God. Every cry, every tear, every groan in the secret place, it is not wasted. God does not forget those who seek Him with all their heart. Your breakthrough is not in a person. It's not in a job. It's not in the applause of this world. It's in the presence of God. There is healing in that presence. There is clarity. There is strength. There is a rebirth of identity. And you access it not by wishing, but by wearing. Breakthrough prayer is warfare. It is the sound of the Spirit resisting everything that tries to hold you back. It is the roar of faith rising from the ashes of defeat. It is your soul refusing to die in the desert. Don't let your current condition blind you to your divine position. You may be in the fire, but you are not consumed. You may be in the valley, but you are not buried. God allows some seasons to strip you, not to destroy you, but to rebuild you with greater glory. But you must pray your way through. You must intercede until the walls fall. You must fast if you have to, cry if you must, but don't stop praying. Don't stop knocking. Don't stop believing, because the day is coming. Yes, the hour is near when God will say, enough. And when He speaks restoration into your situation, no devil in hell can stop it. You see, the breakthrough prayer is not just about what you say, it's about what you believe while you say it. It's about praying as if the answer is already moving in your direction. It's about lifting your voice with such faith that even your enemies begin to tremble. God responds to faith, not perfection, not performance. Faith, even if it's trembling. Faith, even if it's just enough to whisper, God, help me. That's enough to part seas. That's enough to shake chains off your life. That's enough to raise what was dead. Some of you are praying from broken marriages. Some of you are praying from hospital beds. Some of you are praying from prison cells, literal or emotional. But I declare to you, God restores. God revives. God resurrects. God brings back what you thought was gone forever. But you must call on Him with all that you are. You must pray like someone drowning, reaching for the lifeline. You must lay it all at His feet. Your fears, your shame, your secrets, your dreams, and say, God, only You can rebuild me. Only You can restore what I've lost. Total restoration is not partial healing. It's not just fixing what was broken. It's making it better than it was before. God doesn't just give you back what was stolen. He multiplies it. He doesn't just restore your years. He redeems them. He turns your pain into power, your sorrow into strength, your wilderness into a wellspring. But it begins when you shift from casual prayer to desperate, relentless prayer. From speaking to crying out. From asking to declaring. Because when your voice rises in raw truth before God, His power falls in divine response. Your breakthrough prayer will often be forged in the fire. It will not be easy. It may be birthed in sleepless nights and lonely hours. But keep going, keep praying, keep pressing, because when you pray like that, the atmosphere begins to shift. Things start moving in the unseen realm. God dispatches His power where there was once only despair. The moment you pray with faith, restoration is set in motion. You may not see it immediately, but trust God is working. God is restoring. And in due season, your weeping will turn to dancing. Don't you ever let the devil convince you that it's over. Don't you let disappointment drown out your voice. You may have been delayed, but you have not been denied. And that delay has been divine, because God is setting you up for a restoration so complete, so undeniable, that people will marvel, not at you, but at what God has done in you. But you must remain at the altar. You must keep the fire burning. You must not retreat. You must not be silenced. The enemy fears a praying soul, because prayer unlocks power, and power brings restoration. There will be a time, a moment, when everything changes, when the prayer you prayed in secret becomes the testimony you shout in public, when the God you sought in the storm becomes the glory you carry in the sunlight. But it doesn't start with people, it doesn't start with opportunity, it starts with prayer. If you want to see total restoration, spirit, mind, heart, body, then commit yourself to a life of breakthrough prayer. Not just once, but daily. Not just in crisis, but in communion. And as you do, you will see the hand of God move in ways you never imagined. You are not too far gone. You are not too broken. You are not beyond repair. The same power that created the heavens hears your whisper. The same God who holds the galaxies bends down to listen when you pray. So stop doubting, stop running, stop delaying, get on your knees, lift your voice, open your heart, cry out for restoration, and believe. Truly believe that God hears, that God answers, that God restores. You may have lost time, but God can restore it. You may have lost relationships, but God can heal them. You may have lost direction, but God can guide you. You may have lost yourself, but God can bring you back to life. But you must ask, you must seek, you must knock, and you must not give up. This is the hour for breakthrough prayer. This is the season of total restoration, not by your might, not by your knowledge, but by the Spirit of God moving in response to your prayer. So don't wait, don't hesitate, don't let the past define your future. Begin now. Pray like the heavens are listening, because they are. Pray like your breakthrough depends on it, because it does. And as you do, watch what God will restore. There is a place in the heart of prayer where words end and the Spirit begins to speak. A place where your soul bows even lower than your knees. That is where restoration begins. Not in the noise of public declarations, but in the stillness of surrender before God. When you reach that sacred silence where your desires dissolve and only the will of God matters, you will find breakthrough waiting for you. Restoration is not about returning to who you were, but becoming who God intended you to be all along. And the path to that becoming is paved with trust, obedience, and raw, unfiltered prayer. God sees beyond the broken pieces you hold in your hands. While you're focused on what you lost, God is focused on what He's about to build. He does not rebuild using the rubble of your past. He creates anew. He uses loss to position you, pain to prepare you, and prayer to propel you. That is why your breakthrough prayer must not be limited by your understanding. It must rise above your emotions, above your reasoning, and reach into the unseen realm where faith is your only anchor. You must learn to pray past your feelings and into your future. The kind of prayer that touches God's throne is not the prayer of comfort. It is the prayer of consistency. It is the prayer you pray when you don't feel like praying. It's when you show up anyway. When your voice is trembling, but you still speak. When your heart is aching, but you still believe. That is where divine restoration begins. Not when everything is calm, but when the storm is raging and you cry out, "God, I trust you even here." That trust is the seed from which your breakthrough will grow. And hear me when I tell you this: restoration is never without resistance. The moment you begin to rise in prayer, distractions will increase. Opposition will multiply, and the enemy will whisper that your efforts are wasted. But don't be deceived. The battle intensifies not because you're failing, but because you're close to breaking through. When your prayer begins to shake foundations, the forces that want to keep you bound will tremble. Do not retreat. Do not silence your voice. Keep pressing in, because the very resistance is proof that restoration is near. God responds to those who persist, not those who perform, but those who pursue. The breakthrough prayer for total restoration is not a one-time act. It is a lifestyle of communion with God. It's walking with Him in the garden of your trials. It's talking with Him in the heat of your tests. It's leaning on Him when the road is unclear. You must understand, God is not just interested in restoring what's around you. He is committed to restoring what's within you, your peace, your clarity, your courage, your purpose. Sometimes God will strip away everything just to rebuild your foundation, because He knows that without a solid inner life, no outer restoration can stand. That is why your prayers must go deeper than outcomes. Ask for transformation, not just solutions. Ask for wisdom, not just rescue. Ask for alignment, not just advancement. Because once your soul is right before God, everything else will follow. The breakthrough you seek on the outside must first be activated on the inside. And only God can do that in you through prayer. There is a sacred shift that happens when you stop praying for survival and start praying for destiny. When you stop saying, "God, get me out," and start saying, "God, get me through. Make me stronger, wiser, unshakable." That is the prayer that heaven answers. That is the prayer that brings restoration that cannot be taken away again. Because God doesn't just restore your circumstances, He restores your authority, your discernment, your resilience, your joy. Do not envy the progress of others. Do not compare your restoration to someone else's blessing. What God is doing in you is tailor-made. He knows what had to be broken for you to finally turn to Him. He knows what had to be lost so you would stop clinging to false security. Trust that even in your lowest place, God was planning a comeback that would silence every doubt, every voice of shame, every enemy that tried to bury you. And when He brings you out, you'll know it was Him alone who did it. Do not rush the process. Restoration requires patience. It may take time, but every moment spent in faithful prayer is building a foundation that cannot be moved. Others may not see it. They may wonder why you're still praying, still waiting, still believing. But let them talk. Because when God restores you, even your enemies will witness it. And the restoration will speak louder than your defense ever could. Your breakthrough is coming. But don't just wait for it. Pray it into existence. Wake up with prayer. Walk in prayer. Go to sleep in prayer. Not religiously, but relationally. Talk to God about everything. Bring Him your grief, your questions, your failures, your dreams. Hold nothing back, because God is not afraid of your honesty. He desires your heart more than your performance. And when your heart is laid bare before Him, His hand will begin to move with unstoppable power. There will be a moment, and you'll know it, when the weight lifts, when the silence breaks, when what you prayed for begins to manifest. But even then, don't stop praying, because the same prayer that brought you to the breakthrough will sustain you through the blessing. Restoration is not a one-time event. It is a continual journey, and every step of it must be covered in prayer, guided by trust, and anchored in God. Some of you are praying for your children to return. Some of you are praying for your health to be restored. Some of you are praying for the burden of regret to be lifted. Let me tell you, God hears. He has not turned His face away. He is near to the brokenhearted. He bottles your tears. He records your cries. And He answers in ways that exceed your understanding. But you must keep knocking. You must keep seeking. You must keep holding on, even when it feels like nothing is happening, because something is happening. In the stillness, God is already putting things into motion. In the waiting season, He is refining your intentions. In the delay, He is building your faith. Do not mistake the silence for absence. Restoration takes root in quiet places before it is revealed in the open. And when the appointed time comes, when your spirit is ready, when the vessel has been prepared, God will release it. The breakthrough, the healing, the divine reversal, and it will be whole. Not incomplete, not halfway, but full, heavenly, undeniable restoration. Never diminish the power of a single prayer spoken in faith. God is not looking for endless words. He is looking at the posture of your heart. He answers sincerity. Call out to Him, not only with your mouth, but with your life. Let every step you take become an act of worship. Let your pain be turned into prayer. Let your waiting become an offering before Him. Because when God sees a life fully yielded, He pours out favor that cannot be restrained. And hold on to this truth. God's restoration often arrives in ways you did not expect. It may not resemble what you asked for, but it will be exactly what you needed. Trust that His ways are higher. His thoughts are deeper. His timing is flawless. You do not need to understand every part of the journey. You only need to trust the one who is leading you. And if you keep holding on to that trust, if you continue walking by faith and not by sight, one day you will look back and realize that every tear, every delay, every unanswered question was preparing you for something far greater than you ever imagined. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not overlooked. God is writing a restoration story with your life that will touch others, heal wounds, break generational cycles, and bring glory to His name. But it begins with you alone in prayer, laying everything at His feet. Not once, not twice, but every day, faithfully, relentlessly, passionately, when the soul has been shattered, when life has left its scars deep within you, and when the world moves on as if nothing has happened, there is one place you must turn, into the presence of God, not the fleeting comforts of men, not the shallow approval of crowds, not the temporary escape of distraction, but to the one who formed you in silence, who sees what no one else sees, and who restores not just what is broken, but what was lost before you even knew it. God is not bound by time. He is not limited by circumstance. What has taken years to fall apart, God can rebuild in a single moment. But you must cry out to Him with your entire being. Restoration begins the moment your spirit refuses to settle for what is and begins to yearn for what God wills. There is no restoration without divine alignment. You cannot be restored while clinging to the very things that broke you. You cannot be restored while walking in rebellion, while harboring bitterness, while living in fear. The breakthrough prayer is a refining prayer. It strips you of excuses, cleanses you of pride, and places you in complete submission to the will of God. It is not a negotiation, it is a surrender. And in that surrender, power flows. Many want restoration without refinement. They want the blessing but reject the process. But God in His mercy will not place holy things into unprepared hands. He will wait. He will stretch. He will test. Not because He wants to harm you, but because He is preparing you for what is greater. Do not despise the process. The deeper the restoration, the deeper the pruning. God is not patching you up. He is remaking you. He is restoring your soul from the inside out. And that kind of restoration requires a heart that says, God, not my way, not my timing, yours alone. There are some things that can only be birthed in the fire. There are some prayers that can only be prayed from the pit. And there are some victories that can only be won through the cry of a desperate heart that says, I have no one else but God. That is where power is found. That is where mountains move. That is where chains break. Not because of your strength, but because your dependence on God has become absolute. God responds when all your options are exhausted and your hope is placed entirely in Him. Let this be clear. Restoration is not about going back to who you were before the pain. It's about rising into who God has always intended you to be. Pain strips away illusion. Loss exposes the soul. And when you bring that naked honesty before God, He covers you not in shame, but in strength. He clothes you not in regret, but in wisdom. God does not use your past against you. He uses it as the foundation for something new, something pure, something stronger than before. But it begins in the secret place where only your voice and His presence remain. Do not be deceived by outward appearances. Just because someone seems whole on the outside does not mean they are restored within. Restoration is a divine work. It cannot be imitated. It cannot be rushed. It is born through consistent prayer and faithful obedience. It is sustained by walking daily in the light of God, trusting Him, not only for the miracle, but for the mundane moments in between. True restoration is peace that cannot be shaken even when storms return. It is clarity that remains even when chaos surrounds. It is a stillness inside you that testifies God has done this work. There are prayers that God answers in whispers, and there are prayers that He answers with fire. The breakthrough prayer demands fire, not destruction, but purification. It demands that everything in you be laid bare, that your agenda dies and His will takes center stage. This prayer doesn't just touch your situation, it transforms your character. God is not interested in quick fixes. He is interested in eternal change. You may be praying for a door to open, but God is working on the person who will walk through it. And when the restoration begins, you will not recognize yourself. Because when God restores, He doesn't give you back what you had. He gives you what you need. He refines your desires. He sharpens your focus. He removes relationships that were killing your spirit. He closes doors that were never meant for you. And yes, sometimes the greatest act of restoration is not giving you what you lost, but freeing you from needing it at all. Sometimes the most powerful healing is not in what comes back, but in what you no longer crave. You must stop measuring your healing by what others can see. God's restoration is often quiet, internal, sacred. It begins in the hidden places. You might still be walking through the valley, but inside your roots are growing deep. You might still be weeping at night, but God is reordering your soul for joy that will last. And while people are waiting to see visible change, God is crafting invisible strength. Let them talk. Let them doubt. You stay in the place of prayer, because the reward is not their approval, it's God's favor. Restoration means walking again in purpose. It means your voice returns, your vision returns, your fire returns, not to impress others, but to fulfill what you were born for. And you will know it is God's work when the peace you carry outweighs the possessions you have. You'll know it is God's restoration when your joy is rooted in obedience, not outcomes. When your strength is found in silence, not applause. This is the restoration that endures. This is the fruit of breakthrough prayer. God is not a God of fragments. He does not leave you halfway. If you will surrender everything to Him in prayer, your wounds, your memories, your reputation, your expectations, He will not only rebuild you, He will establish you. He will plant you in a place where your roots will not be shaken again, but you must stay committed to the secret place. You must stop looking for quick comfort and start seeking lasting transformation. Prayer is not your last resort. It is your lifeline. Hold it tightly. Make it the first breath of your morning and the final whisper of your night. And remember, restoration is not just for your sake, it is for those you will touch, the people who will see your story and find hope, the generations who will rise because you stood your ground in prayer. You are not just fighting for your own healing. You are contending for every life connected to yours. God is raising up restorers, people who have been broken, healed, and now carry the authority to bring others through the fire. But it all begins on your knees. It all begins with one cry, God, I need you. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for the pain to pass. Begin now. Pray like your future depends on it, because it does. God is ready to restore what the years have stolen. God is ready to renew what disappointment has buried. God is ready to rebuild what you thought could never rise again. But He's waiting for your voice. He's waiting for your surrender. And when you give it, when you offer it, without conditions or hesitation, God will answer with power that no one can deny. Breakthrough is not an event. It is a lifestyle, a continual posture of dependence on God, a relentless return to His presence, a daily choice to believe that His power is greater than your pain and His promise stronger than your past. Restoration begins in that choice, and once you choose it, hold fast. Because the breakthrough is not a myth. It is a reality that belongs to those who refuse to stop praying, refuse to stop believing, and refuse to let go of the God who restores all things. When God begins to restore, He does not simply repair the surface, He reconstructs from the root. That is why your restoration may feel slow, even painful at times, because God is digging deep. He is unearthing what has been buried, exposing what has been ignored, and confronting what has been suppressed. He does not heal symptoms, He heals the source. And while the world may offer temporary fixes to ease the discomfort Only God has the power to touch the hidden places of your spirit and speak life where there was once only survival. Restoration is not for the passive. It is for those who refuse to settle. It is for those who say, I will not die in this wilderness. I will not remain in this brokenness. I will not let this be the end of my story. That kind of boldness is not arrogance. It is trust in God. It is the belief that what God has spoken over your life is greater than what life has tried to take from you. And when that fire ignites in your soul, your prayer life changes. You stop praying for escape and start praying for endurance. You stop asking why and start declaring, let God's will be done in me, fully, completely, and without delay. There is a kind of restoration that humbles you, not because you have lost, but because you've witnessed the mercy of God in your lowest state. It breaks your pride. It softens your heart. It reminds you that you did not earn the turnaround. God gave it to you. And that awareness transforms the way you walk. You no longer strive for validation from others. You no longer cling to the applause of the world. You walk with quiet strength because you know the one who restored you is greater than anything this world can offer. But listen closely. If you truly want restoration, you must release control. God will not restore what you continue to manipulate. He will not fill hands that refuse to let go. Some of you are still holding on to what hurt you, still replaying what broke you, still chasing the approval that was never meant to define you. But God says, lay it down, trust me with it, because until you release it, you cannot receive what's next. Restoration requires relinquishment. You must trade the ashes for beauty, but you cannot do that while clinging to the fire that burned you. Breakthrough prayer is dangerous prayer. It disrupts the ordinary. It dismantles comfort. It shakes you from passivity, because the moment you pray for full restoration, you are inviting God to remove every false foundation in your life, every relationship that cannot go with you, every thought pattern that has kept you in bondage, every habit that has delayed your destiny. And though it may feel like loss, it is gain. Though it may feel like chaos, it is divine order. God clears out the lesser to make room for the greater. He tears down what was temporary so He can establish what is eternal. There are times God will allow you to be emptied before He fills you. Don't mistake the emptiness for abandonment. Sometimes the silence is a sign that God is preparing something sacred. He is drawing you away from noise so that you can hear the whisper of His guidance. And in that place of solitude, your spirit becomes sensitive again. You begin to hear His direction more clearly. Your appetite for distraction fades, and your longing for truth intensifies. That is where restoration takes root, not in the noise, but in the nearness of God. And when you are truly restored, the evidence is not just in what you gain, but in who you become. You begin to carry peace that cannot be provoked. You begin to speak with authority that doesn't come from titles or recognition, but from time spent in the presence of God. You walk with a confidence that comes from knowing who holds your future, even when your path is unclear. This is the fruit of breakthrough prayer, not just answers, but transformation, not just recovery, but rebirth. Do not fear the waiting. Do not resist the wilderness, because some of the deepest restorations happen in seasons where nothing seems to move. In those quiet days when you feel forgotten, misunderstood, and isolated, God is working. He is building strength in your spirit. He is developing endurance in your soul. He is enlarging your capacity for greater. What looks like delay is often divine construction. So lift your head, dry your tears, and continue to pray. Because the silence does not mean denial. It means preparation. Let God rewrite your story. Let Him redefine your worth. Let Him reset your focus. Because when God restores, He removes what the enemy tried to attach to your name. Shame, fear, rejection, despair. He breaks them off. He doesn't just patch the wound, He replaces the scar with wisdom. You don't just walk out healed, you walk out empowered. That is why the enemy fought you so hard, because your restoration will be a testimony that ripples beyond your life. It will restore others. It will set captives free, and it will glorify God in ways your pain never could. Every setback is an opportunity for a set up. Every valley is an invitation to deeper vision. Every loss is a seed that God can use to grow something supernatural. But you must bring it to Him in prayer. Unfiltered, unmasked, unafraid. Cry out to Him. Speak to Him when the words don't come out perfect. He's not looking for performance. He's waiting for honesty. That kind of prayer moves mountains. It splits the heavens. It shifts the atmosphere. It invites divine intervention. And know this, no place is too dark for God to reach. No heart is too hardened. No past is too stained. No future is too far gone. One moment in the presence of God can do more than years of human effort. One whispered prayer can bring breakthrough. One surrender can change generations. But it must be real. It must come from the depths of your soul. Restoration from God is not limited to repairing what the eye can see. It reaches far beyond material loss, far beyond public shame, far beyond emotional pain. It penetrates the very core of who you are. Your spirit, your essence, your soul's alignment with its divine Creator. The breakthrough prayer for total restoration does not merely ask God to restore situations, it pleads for the restoration of the soul's sacred rhythm with His will. When your soul returns to its original posture before God, humbled, surrendered, and fully yielded, that is when true restoration begins to blossom like dawn after a long and bitter night. There are dimensions of restoration that only obedience can unlock. You may cry, you may fast, you may plead, and all of these are powerful, but without obedience, your prayer is hindered. You must not only call upon God, but you must follow His lead. If God calls you to release bitterness, obey. If God calls you to let go of unclean habits, obey. If God convicts your heart to walk away from what is comfortable but corrupt, obey. Because obedience is not weakness. It is the doorway to power. And the deeper your obedience, the more complete your restoration will be. Some of the most powerful restorations are the ones that happen in hidden places where no one sees, no one claps, and no one even knows the depth of what God has done. These are the restorations that bring tears of awe when you look back and realize that what should have destroyed you only deepened your intimacy with God. This is the kind of breakthrough that the world cannot imitate and that no enemy can take credit for. When God restores you in such a way that your peace doesn't rely on circumstance, your strength doesn't rely on support, and your identity doesn't rely on approval, that is restoration in its most divine form. Many want to be restored publicly, but are unwilling to be refined privately. They want applause without purification. They want elevation without examination. But God is too wise to elevate what is not stable. That is why He uses the prayer closet to build what the platform cannot. If you're in a season of silence, a time where no one sees your labor, your tears, your discipline, rejoice, because it means God is building something lasting. God does not invest in what He does not intend to sustain. And if He's stretching you in private, He is preparing to entrust you with something powerful in public. Your breakthrough prayer must not only be consistent, it must be precise. Too often we pray in vague tones, hoping for general improvement. But restoration requires specific surrender. You must name the broken place. You must identify the lie you've believed. You must lay before God the exact area where you've been bleeding internally. And when you do, you will see God not only bind your wounds, but give you new vision, new strength, new purpose that rises from the very places where you once collapsed. You must also understand that God does not always restore in the way you imagine. Sometimes He removes instead of returns. Sometimes He closes the door you begged Him to open because He sees what lies beyond it. Sometimes He allows disappointment to become your deliverance, because what you thought was good was simply familiar. And God is too faithful to let you settle for less than His best. When your spirit is surrendered, you will trust that His no is protection, His silence is strategy, and His delay is preparation. True faith doesn't just accept the answer, it reveres the wisdom behind it. Let me speak plainly. The enemy fears a restored person because once you've been through the fire and come out refined, you are no longer easily shaken. Once you've wrestled in the dark with only God as your companion, your dependency on others vanishes. Once you've been stripped of false identities and grounded in divine purpose, you walk differently. You pray with a weight that comes from surviving what others didn't see. And your restoration becomes a weapon, not just for you, but for everyone your story will touch. There will be moments when your restoration journey feels lonely. Not everyone can walk with you into the new season. Not everyone will understand your transformation. Some will resist it, others will mislead. But let them talk, let them walk away. When God restores, He also reveals. He shows you who truly carries your destiny in their spirit and who is only assigned to the broken version of you. Don't chase the crowd. Don't explain yourself. Focus on staying in alignment with God's hand. His presence will bring the right voices into your life at the right time. Restoration is also generational. What God is doing in you now is not just for you, it's for your children, your children's children, and the legacy they will carry. Every prayer you pray today lays a brick for the road they will walk tomorrow. Every stronghold you break is a wall they won't have to climb. Every habit you surrender becomes a testimony of power they will inherit. So when you feel weak, remember you are fighting for a future that goes far beyond your own. And God honors those who stand in the gap for generations. God does not overlook faithfulness. He sees every hidden sacrifice, every silent act of obedience, every private battle you never showed the world. And He remains faithful to reward those who keep pursuing Him, even when the world presents quicker paths and easier ways. Let others run after shortcuts. Your reward does not come from people. It comes from the hand of God. And when He decides to release it, it will be unmistakable, unstoppable, and wholly beyond question. A day is coming, hold it deep in your spirit, when you will rise and everything that once seemed like loss will be revealed as preparation. Every closed door will be understood as divine mercy. Every delay will be uncovered as protection. Every tear will be remembered. Every cry will resound in eternity. And you will say it not with bitterness, but with wonder. God restored me in ways greater than I ever imagined. Not through human strength, not through manipulation, but through prayer. Honest, deep, fervent prayer. So if you are standing in the middle of your breaking, keep praying. If you are exhausted, keep kneeling. If questions fill your heart, keep seeking, because the answer you have been longing for may be waiting just beyond one more whisper of surrender. The turning point may be waiting on one more act of obedience, and your breakthrough may be nearer than you think. God is not done with you, not even close. He is forming something in your life that will outlast the storm, shine brighter than the pain, and remain long after the voices of critics fade away. And when it is finished, it will not lead you into pride. It will lead all glory back to God, because your restoration is not only your comeback, it is your calling, it is your assignment, and it begins right now in the place where all true change begins, in the stillness, in surrender, in the hidden power of breakthrough prayer. My beloved, hear me carefully. I do not come before you with human opinions. I do not bring the wisdom of man, and I do not speak from the shallow places of earthly understanding. I come with a word that echoes from heaven, a word drenched in the unchanging promises of God. Hear this with all your heart. God is going to open the door to your finances. So do not be troubled. Do not allow the enemy of your soul, the whisper of fear, or the pressure of your present situation to deceive you. What is in front of you right now is not the finish line. What you are feeling is not your final portion. What you are walking through in this season is only preparing the way for what God is about to pour into your life. You may be looking at bare shelves, overdue bills, increasing debt, and dreams that feel crushed beneath the weight of lack. But God has not lost sight of you. God is not missing from your struggle. God is not blind to your need, and He is not deaf to your cries. People may have turned away. Systems may have failed. Opportunities may have shut themselves off. But the door of God is still open. The supply of God has not run dry. The timing of God never fails. Let me tell you with conviction in my soul and truth in my spirit, everything belongs to Him. Every coin in the earth, every hidden treasure in the ground, every opportunity, every field, every idea, every harvest still waiting to rise, all of it belongs to God. And if it belongs to Him, then He can place it in your hands in a single moment. What takes people years to build, God can release in one day. What the world spends a lifetime trying to gather, God can pour through one door He decides to open. One touch from God changes everything. Do not bow your head in shame because of what you do not have today. Do not measure your value by the number in your bank account. Never believe that your worth is determined by what you drive, where you live, or what you wear. God sees you. God knows your sacrifice. God knows the tears you have cried in silence through the night. God has seen the moments when you gave your last. He has seen the times you stretched what little you had so you could still help someone else. And God is not unjust. He will not forget your faith, your trust, or your obedience. God is the one who will pay you back, not man. And when God pays back, He doesn't return what was lost. He multiplies it. The same God who made water spring from a rock, who brought food down from the sky, who multiplied a little and made it much, is the same God who is still moving. He is the one who feeds the birds of the air, birds that neither sow nor reap, yet never go hungry. If He provides for them, will He not provide for you, you who trust in Him, you who call on Him, you who walk by faith when everything in your life is shouting fear? Yes, God will provide for you. Not just barely, but abundantly, overflowingly, supernaturally. So let your heart stop racing. Let your soul breathe again. God never runs out of options. God never faces a shortage. Heaven is never in a recession. When one door shuts, God is already preparing another. And not just any door, but the right door, the divine door, the door that brings peace and not sorrow, the door that brings favor and not toil, the door that no man, no devil, no system can shut. That's the kind of door God opens. You may not see the door right now, but that doesn't mean it's not there. Just because it's hidden doesn't mean it's not holy. Just because it's delayed doesn't mean it's denied. God is never late, but He's rarely early. He waits until the moment that brings Him the most glory and brings you the most growth. If you got it too early, pride would ruin it. If you got it too quickly, you wouldn't value it. If you stepped through the door before your character was ready, the blessing would crush you instead of lift you. So trust the process. Trust that God is not just preparing the door, He's preparing you for it. There's a reason the trial is financial, because nothing tests your faith like finances. Nothing exposes your fears like money, and nothing reveals your true trust like being in lack. But God isn't trying to hurt you. He's trying to show you something. He's trying to teach you how to depend not on a paycheck, not on a job, not on the government, not on people, but on Him and Him alone. There is a spiritual law written by the hand of God. Those who sow in faith shall reap in abundance. But you must understand, faith is not a feeling, it's a decision. Faith is not hoping things work out. It's knowing God is working even when you see nothing at all. Faith is walking through a closed hallway, knowing the door will open at the end. Faith is praising God in the drought because you trust that rain is on the way. That's the kind of faith God honors. That's the kind of faith God rewards. So don't be discouraged when it looks like nothing is happening. Don't grow bitter when others are getting blessed while you're still waiting. God's delay is not His denial. God's silence is not His absence. God's holding back is not punishment, it's positioning. He's setting the stage for a breakthrough that will silence every voice that doubted you. He's about to raise you up in such a way that people will not be able to say it was your talent, your connections, or your hustle. They'll have to admit this was God and God alone. And when that door opens, walk through it boldly. Don't apologize for it. Don't shrink back. Don't question it. Receive what God gives you with humility and with confidence. For what He opens, no man can shut. What He blesses, no curse can reverse. What He ordains, no enemy can overthrow. But I must warn you, when the door opens, don't forget God. Don't let success silence your worship. Don't let increase inflate your ego. The same God who brought you out is the same God who must be honored when you go in. Do not trade your dependence on God for dependence on money. Money is a tool. Money is a servant. But God is your source. God is your keeper. God is your sustainer. Too many lose their fire once they receive the blessing. They prayed while they lacked, but grew cold when the abundance came. Don't be like that. Stay humble. Stay hungry. Stay faithful. For God doesn't just want to bless you once. He wants to walk with you in perpetual favor. But favor flows where honor dwells. Honor God with what He gives you. Be generous. Be wise. Be diligent. And never forget where it came from. You may be wondering, but how will it happen? I don't have the credentials. I don't have the capital. I don't have the connections. Let me tell you something. God doesn't need what you lack to bless you. God uses what you have. A little faith, a little oil, a little courage. That's all He needs. He specializes in starting with little, because little in the hand of God becomes mighty. Don't compare your story to others. Their door is not your door. Their timeline is not your timeline. What God is doing for you is tailor-made, and when it comes, it will fit you so perfectly, you'll know it could have only come from above. You'll know it was divinely designed, spiritually crafted, and heaven-sent. And don't underestimate what you've been through. Every hardship, every loss, every night you cried in silence, it all mattered. God is not wasteful. He collects every tear. He records every struggle. And He uses it to prepare you for what's coming. The pressure you felt is proof that something powerful is on the way. God presses before He pours. He prunes before He promotes. He breaks before He builds. And He hides before He reveals. So don't despise this season. It's only temporary. The storm will pass, the night will end, and when it does, God will open the door that no man saw coming, and it will make up for every closed door behind you. God will give you double for your trouble. God will repay what was stolen. God will redeem the time that was lost. And it will not be by your hand, but by His favor. And hear me now, with a heart full of fire and a soul aligned with truth, your current position is not your permanent condition. What you see today is not the fullness of what God has for you. Do not let your current lack convince you that God has forgotten you. That is a lie from the pit of despair. The very moment you began to cry out to God, the process began. Even when you felt alone, God was working. Even when the silence screamed louder than your prayers, God was moving in the unseen. God does not slumber. God does not sleep. God does not ignore. While you were pacing the floor at night, God was sending angels on assignment. While you were rationing your last meal, God was preparing a feast. While others were mocking your faith, God was laying the foundation for something they could never take credit for. You may feel behind, but God is about to accelerate your steps. You may feel overlooked, but God is about to spotlight your faithfulness. You may feel surrounded, but God is about to scatter every enemy that rose against your finances. Let your spirit rise with holy confidence, because God is not only aware of your need, He is orchestrating the solution with divine precision. There are ideas He's planning in your mind. There are connections He's weaving in the background. There are resources being released through channels you haven't even imagined yet. God does not need your resume, your bank history, or your popularity. He moves according to your faith. He responds to your dependence. He honors your trust. If you could see what God is arranging, you'd stop crying and start praising. If you could see the next season, you'd thank Him for the test. The wilderness was not a punishment, it was a place of preparation. The dry season wasn't a sign of abandonment, it was where God trained your eyes to look up, not around. He's been shifting your focus not to what you don't have, but to who holds it all. Because when your eyes are fixed on God, no lack can shake you, and no delay can break you. Some of you have been fasting. Some of you have been sowing. Some of you have been weeping in secret. But God is not unjust. God is the one who sees what is done in the hidden and rewards openly. You may have gone unnoticed by people, but you are front and center in the eyes of God. He has not misplaced your prayer. He has not overlooked your offering, and He has not ignored your trust. God is getting ready to open the kind of door that changes your family legacy, a door that shifts the direction of your bloodline, a door that breaks generational cycles of poverty, a door that lifts you out of survival mode and into a life of provision, peace, and purpose. But God had to get you to this point first, to this holy desperation, to this place where your only hope is Him. Because when you finally reach the place where God is all you have, you will discover that God is all you need. Don't allow the calendar to intimidate you. Don't let the deadlines cause panic. Don't let the whispers of defeat linger in your thoughts. God is not limited by time. He is not constrained by man-made systems. When He says now, no delay can stop it. And I believe that there are those listening who are on the edge of a supernatural shift. The door you've prayed for is closer than you think. But will you keep believing when the pressure increases? Will you keep praising even when the cupboards are bare? Will you trust God not just with your soul, but with your supply? Faith is not proven in the harvest. Faith is proven in the drought. It's in the silence where faith speaks the loudest. It's in the emptiness where faith sees the fullness of God. So do not curse the season you're in. It is birthing a deeper trust, a firmer foundation, and an unshakable spirit. God is molding you into someone who can steward the door once it opens. You don't want a door that crushes you. You want a door that elevates you. And God is making sure you're ready. So stop trying to manipulate the outcome. Stop forcing connections that God didn't approve. Stop running after crumbs when God has a banquet waiting. Walk with dignity. Live with integrity. Speak with confidence. Your source is not your job. Your provider is not your employer. Your trust is not in fluctuating markets. Your help comes from God, the maker of all things, the controller of every resource, the opener of every door. I declare to your spirit today, you are not forgotten, you are not forsaken, you are not invisible to the eyes of God. There is a divine appointment on your life, and when God says the time is now, the floodgates will open, and you will not be begging, you will be distributing. Your days of financial struggle are numbered. God is about to send the kind of provision that silences every doubt, every fear, and every critic. The kind that makes you say, only God could have done this. The kind that removes shame. The kind that lifts burdens. The kind that allows you to bless others without calculating the cost. But remember this, God does not bless you just for you. He blesses you to be a blessing. He increases you so you can increase others. He elevates you so you can lift others. So prepare your heart not just to receive, but to pour out. Prepare not only to receive the door, but to walk through it with generosity, wisdom, and purpose. You will not be like those who forgot who lifted them. You will be a light, a vessel, a testimony, not of your greatness, but of God's faithfulness. And your story will cause others to believe. Your breakthrough will be the blueprint for someone else's hope. Your testimony will be fuel for someone else's faith. Because when God opens this door, it will be undeniable. Let me speak directly to the soul that feels exhausted. To the one who has prayed day and night, and yet the breakthrough feels like it's stuck behind an invisible wall. To the one who watches the calendar flip, the bills stack, the cupboards thin, and still wonders, where is the promise? I declare to you with unwavering conviction, God is not finished. Your waiting is not in vain. The silence is not a sign of abandonment. It is the stillness before the storm of blessings. It is the quiet before the gates of provision swing open in your favor. Do not let the weariness of your body deceive the strength of your spirit. God is measuring your endurance. He is watching how you handle the not yet. Because how you respond to lack determines how well you will steward abundance. God is preparing your heart to handle what your hands are about to receive. If He gave it too soon, it would be a burden. But when it comes in God's perfect timing, it will not bring sorrow, it will bring peace, honor, and lasting joy. And hear this clearly. You were never meant to be a slave to money. You were created to walk in dominion, to live with dignity, and to move in purpose. Money is not your master. Fear is not your ruler. God alone is your provider. God alone is your source. And when you understand this, no temporary lack can make you panic, and no temporary success can make you arrogant. Because you know that everything you have and everything you need flows from the eternal well of God's provision. Some of you are standing at the edge of a financial miracle, but your mind has been tormented by the fear of failure. Let me tell you with fire and truth, fear is a liar, but God is the truth. You do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to see the full map. All you need is faith in the one who holds the map, who controls the road, and who creates new paths where none existed. When God speaks, even the desert becomes a garden. Even the storm becomes a highway. Even the closed gate becomes an open passage. There is a power in your praise that pushes open doors no key can turn. There is a force in your faith that moves mountains no man can lift. And there is a miracle in your obedience that brings forth provision no economy can explain. God does not bless based on logic. He blesses based on obedience. And sometimes He will test you by asking you to give even when it feels like you have nothing left. Not to take from you, but to show you that He is the one who fills your cup again and again. Let the doubters talk. Let the critics watch. Let those who don't understand your walk question your decisions. You are not living for their approval. You are walking by divine instruction. And the same people who mock your faith now will witness the overflow later. Not because of who you are, but because of who God is. He exalts the humble. He lifts the faithful. And He defends those who trust in Him. And He never lets those who rely on Him be put to shame. You may not have come from wealth. You may have known struggle your entire life, but let me declare something deep into your spirit. Where you come from does not determine where God is taking you. God can raise you from obscurity into influence. God can move you from scraping by to pouring into others. You are not confined by your past, your family background, or the environment around you. You are marked by the calling of God and upheld by the provision of God. A shift is on the way. You may not sense it yet, but it is already started. It begins in the spirit before it appears in the natural. God is moving things into place. He is bringing the right connections into alignment. He is preparing the atmosphere to receive the blessing He has for you. You do not have to force doors open. God is already opening them. You do not have to run after everything in your own strength. God is causing what belongs to you to come toward you. Your responsibility is to remain faithful, stay obedient, and keep your spirit prepared. Because when that moment arrives, it will not be minor. It will not be incomplete. It will not be barely enough. It will be overflowing, abundant, and beyond what you expected. It will come in a way that quiets every doubt, removes every worry, and reshapes your whole future. The blessing of God is not merely a provision, it is a transformation. It does not only affect your finances, it changes your thinking, your heart, your patterns, your perspective, and your sense of identity. So build your life on the solid rock of trust, not on the shifting sand of temporary success. Because when God opens that financial door, you must be ready to handle it with wisdom. Many have received, but far fewer have known how to sustain it. God is preparing you not only for blessing, but for stewardship, for increase, and for legacy. This door that God is about to open is not only for you, it is for your children, for your children's children, and for the people your life will touch. This is generational. This is holy. And this is why the pressure has been so intense, because the promise is so weighty. The enemy would not be fighting you so fiercely if you were not carrying something precious. But he cannot stop what God has ordained. He cannot close what God has commanded open. And he cannot curse what God has chosen to bless. Let your ears be open and your spirit alert, because what I say next is not ordinary speech. It is a call to rise in faith and awaken your understanding. God is not bound by economy, by status, or by the limits man has placed around you. God is beyond interest rates and inflation. God is above credit scores and job titles. And when He chooses to bless you, He does not consult your qualifications. He responds to your submission, your sincerity, your faith. So stop measuring your future by your current bank balance. Stop limiting your expectations to what you see in the natural. Lift your eyes higher. God is your portion, and His provision is not dependent on your position. It's time to walk in financial faith with the kind of trust that doesn't tremble at empty accounts, the kind of faith that doesn't flinch when bills pile up. You may not see the resources in your hand right now, but you carry the seed of promise in your spirit. And God never places a burden without preparing the breakthrough. That struggle in your finances, it's not just a test, it's a stretching. It's developing endurance in your soul. It's sharpening your discernment so you won't waste what's coming. Because when God opens the door, it won't be for temporary relief, it will be for lasting impact. Some of you have tried every human avenue. You've applied, you've called, you've knocked, and still the answer was no. But what if God let those doors remain closed because they were not the ones meant for you? Not every opportunity is a blessing. Not every open door is divine. Some things look good, but carry hidden traps. God, in His mercy, has kept you from lesser things so He can bring you into greater things. And when He opens the right door, you won't have to force it. You won't have to beg for it. You won't have to compromise your integrity to walk through it. It will open by the power of His will, and you will know this was God. There is a realm of financial breakthrough that is accessed not through manipulation or schemes, but through spiritual alignment.
You must learn to speak the language of faith. God responds to those who speak His word back to Him, not with doubt, not with complaining, not with bitterness, but with confidence in His power. Begin declaring over your situation, God is my provider, God is my sustainer, God is my opener of doors, and nothing that belongs to me will be withheld. Speak life into your finances. Speak hope into your future. Let your voice agree with what God has already ordained. And be careful. Do not allow comparison to steal your contentment. You see others prospering. You see them living in abundance while you stretch every penny. But hear this. Comparison is the thief of peace, and jealousy will poison your harvest before it arrives. What God has for you is for you. It will not go to another. It cannot be delayed by envy. Celebrate the blessings of others, because when you do, you invite the same favor to your own doorstep. Rejoice when your brother is lifted. Praise God when your sister testifies, for your turn is coming. And when it comes, it will be worth every second of waiting. But do not just wait idly. Prepare, position, plant. God blesses what is in motion. You must be faithful in what little you have. Whether it's a job that barely covers the bills or a business that hasn't yet grown, work it with excellence. Steward it with diligence, because the way you handle the small will determine how you carry the great. God watches what you do in the shadows before He trusts you with the spotlight. There's a dangerous lie in the world that says you must chase wealth at any cost. But that is not the way of those who walk with God. You don't chase money. You attract provision by chasing God. When you prioritize righteousness, when you live with integrity, when you give generously, when you serve faithfully, blessings will find you. You won't have to run from pillar to post trying to survive. You will walk in divine rhythm, and what is meant for you will meet you at the appointed time. And don't miss this. Sometimes God will allow lack not to punish, but to protect. There are seasons when He withholds to preserve you. If He had given you the wealth before your character was ready, it would have ruined you. If He had opened the door before your humility was rooted, pride would have crept in and corrupted the blessing. But now, after the refining, after the tears, after the long nights, you are becoming someone who can be trusted with much. God does not waste pain. He transforms it into preparation. And what He's preparing you for is greater than you can imagine. Be mindful of how you handle delay. Delay is not rejection. It is construction. In the delay, God is building something inside of you. Perseverance, discipline, a deeper reliance on His voice. You are being built to last. So don't despise the process. Embrace it. Walk through it. Learn from it. Because when the door opens, the blessing will require maturity to manage. Now listen, God does not just want to bless you. He wants to free you. True financial freedom is not about luxury. It's about not being controlled by fear or bound by debt. It's about having peace, not panic. It's about giving without guilt and living without constant worry. That is what God desires for you. And that freedom comes when you let go of anxiety and hold on to trust. It comes when you recognize that wealth is not the goal, obedience is. And through obedience, provision flows. There is a sound in the heavens, a sound that is stirring, moving, shifting. It is the sound of God preparing a release, not a trickle,
Not a drop, but a divine release so profound, so precise, that it will redeem years of struggle in a single moment. And you must be ready, because God is not simply giving you money. He is establishing something eternal in your life, a shift in your understanding, a reset in your priorities, a cleansing of your motives.
He is not just opening the door to finances, He is opening your eyes to purpose. Understand this clearly. Not all increase is from God. There is increase that comes with chaos, anxiety, and bondage. But when God blesses you, it comes with calm, with clarity, with conviction. It comes with protection. It comes with order. It does not destroy your peace. It multiplies your strength. If the pursuit of money is stealing your worship, if it's robbing your rest, then it is not aligned with God's way. But if your pursuit is rooted in obedience, in trust, in surrender to God's timing and will, then what is coming will not only sustain you, it will elevate you into greater service, deeper impact, and true freedom. There are seasons where God withholds to realign, where He interrupts your pattern to correct your direction. If you've ever experienced a door slamming shut just when you were about to step through, don't be discouraged. That was God's mercy, not punishment. He closed it because He knew what was on the other side wasn't yours. He closed it because He had something better. Better doesn't always mean bigger. It means blessed. And blessed is what you want, not just more. Because more without God leads to emptiness, but a little with God becomes abundance. You must begin to see your financial life as a field, not a vault. It is not meant to be hoarded. It is meant to be cultivated, sown into, cared for, watered by faith, harvested with wisdom. If you treat your finances as a field entrusted by God, then you will not be afraid to plant even when conditions look unfavorable. Because you know the rain does not come from the sky alone. It is commanded by God. The soil does not yield fruit by accident. It responds to obedience. The harvest is not determined by effort alone. It is released through divine timing. And I speak now to the spirit that has grown weary in the wait. You have done all you know to do. You've tithed, you've saved, you've sacrificed, and yet the breakthrough has not come. Let me speak a deeper word to your heart. Sometimes the delay is not about your faith. It's about your future. God is not testing your belief. He is building your capacity. He's not punishing your obedience. He's preparing this stage for something more meaningful than wealth, influence, transformation, stability. Because what God desires for you is not just a moment of blessing, it's a lifestyle of alignment. Do not seek to be rich. Seek to be right with God. Seek to walk in such a way that your heart is never moved by the numbers in your account, but only by the whisper of God's instruction. Let your spirit become so anchored in truth that no offer, no deal, no opportunity can ever pull you away from God's voice. Because the real wealth is not in what you possess, it's in who you've become through the process. There are some doors that look like breakthroughs but are actually bait. You must be discerning. Not every opportunity is appointed by God. The enemy knows how to mimic what looks like success. That's why your prayer must not only be, God, open the door, but also, God, close the ones that are not from you. Block the counterfeits. Seal shut every path that leads to regret. Because when God is the one who opens, the door leads to life. And when He is the one who guides, you can walk boldly
without fear. Let me tell you something that may shake you. You don't need more money to be faithful. You don't need more to be generous. You don't need abundance to be grateful, because gratitude is not birthed in having everything. It is birthed in recognizing that everything you do have is a gift from God. And when you live like that, when you live with open hands and a thankful heart, you begin to attract the kind of favor that no financial system can explain. God blesses those who live in gratitude and give with joy. God doesn't need numbers to multiply. He only needs willingness. If He can feed the birds who don't work and dress the flowers that don't sue, will He not take care of you, the one who cries out to Him in secret? Yes, He will. He already is. Provision doesn't begin when the bank fills. It begins the moment you trust, the moment you rest, the moment you let go of trying to be your own source and allow God to be God. And when He moves, when He opens the right door, everything will change in an instant. What was closed for years will be unlocked in a moment. What was unreachable will be delivered. What you were chasing will begin to chase you. But it won't come so that you can boast. It won't come to inflate your ego. It will come to remind you that God never forgets. God never sleeps. God never ignores faith. Let this season become the altar where you lay down your worry and pick up worship, where you stop explaining your faith to those who mock and begin living in quiet confidence that what God promised, He will fulfill. You may not know how, but you know who. And the woe is always greater than the how. God is greater than the system, greater than your circumstances, greater than your fears, and greater than any door that was once closed. So now is the time to build before the breakthrough. Prepare like the answer is already on the way. Organize your life. Plan your steps. Write the vision. Clear the clutter. Make room. Not just in your home, but in your heart. Because God does not send rain where there are no seeds in the ground. God does not open doors where there is no faith to walk through them. And God does not release wealth into hands that are clenched in fear. He blesses those whose hands are open to give, to receive, and to worship. Let the world chase after fleeting riches. Let them hustle in panic and store up in fear. But you stand firm in your trust. Your stability is not in the bank, it is in God. Your legacy is not built on gold, it is built on faith. Your door is not carved by human hands. It is opened by divine command. And when it swings open, because it will, you will walk through it not with pride, but with praise, not with arrogance, but with awe, because you will know beyond every shadow of doubt. It was not your effort that did it. It was not your talent. It was not your intellect. It was God. God alone, the one who sees, the one who knows, the one who opens the door. So you don't have to worry. And now let me tell you something the world won't say to you. Something that goes against the logic of man, but stands tall in the wisdom of God. True provision does not come from hustle. It comes from alignment. You can grind every day and still feel empty. You can have all the coins in your pocket and yet be spiritually bankrupt. But when you are aligned with God, when your steps are ordered, when your motives are purified, you begin to experience a kind of success that no paycheck can ever provide. That is the success of the soul. That is the wealth that does not wither. That is the blessing that overflows from the unseen into the visible. People will ask, how did it happen? How did you get from not enough to more than enough? And you will not be able to explain it by charts or formulas. You'll simply say, I was God. Because when God does it, The fingerprints are too divine to be explained away by coincidence. It will not be strategy that delivered you, it will be surrender. Not your schemes, but your submission. Not your plans, but your patience. Because when God opens the door to your finances, it won't be ordinary. It will carry the unmistakable mark of heaven. You must understand, God doesn't open doors just to fill your account. He opens them to fulfill His purpose. When He lifts you, it's not just for your comfort, it's for His glory. So you must ask yourself today, am I ready to carry the weight of blessing with the strength of integrity? Because blessing without character is a curse in disguise. God is not raising up people who are just rich. He is raising up people who are righteous, people who won't bow to the idols of greed, people who won't trade their calling for cash, people who won't sell their soul for worldly applause. So don't rush the process. Let God finish what He started in you. Let Him finish humbling you, refining you, teaching you. Let Him finish breaking off the false dependencies so that when the blessing comes, you'll know where it came from. You'll know it wasn't the bank, the boss, or the market. It was the breath of God blowing open what no man could touch. And hear me now with clarity and conviction. There is no force strong enough to stop what God has willed for your life. Not poverty, not delay, not rejection, not betrayal. When God speaks a word over your destiny, it cannot return void. It travels like lightning, unstoppable and unshakable. And what He has promised, He will deliver. Not because of who you are, but because of who He is. God is faithful. God is just. God is generous beyond measure. And if He said He will open the door, then even if the hinges have rusted and the lock has been sealed for years, that door will move. But now let's go deeper. What if the financial door you're waiting on isn't meant to just bless your life, but to break a chain in your lineage? What if the provision that's coming isn't just for your comfort, but to cancel curses that have tormented your bloodline for generations? What if God is getting ready to shift everything through you? Don't think small. Don't limit God to a payday. He's not just your provider, He's your liberator. He's setting you up to become the first, the foundation, the one who changed the story for your entire household. That's why it's taken time. That's why the pressure has been intense. You thought you were just praying for a breakthrough, but God was crafting a testimony. You thought you were just asking for help, but God was building a legacy. You thought you were crying alone, but God was collecting every tear and watering the soil of your destiny with them. And now the harvest is close. The wind is shifting. The door is creaking open. But when it opens, walk through it with reverence. Walk through it with awareness that this is not just a financial moment. It's a divine assignment. It's a new season where you become a steward of blessings, a distributor of hope, a vessel of generosity. Don't cling to it, flow with it. Don't worship it, use it to worship, because money is a tool, not a treasure. God is the treasure. And when you keep Him at the center, every blessing will flow in its rightful order. Now let this truth echo through your bones. You are not destined for lack. You are not sentenced to struggle. You are not forgotten in the corner of scarcity. You are marked by God. And when God marks you, no thief can steal what belongs to you. No enemy can delay what's been appointed. No door can stay closed that He has commanded open. So rise not with anxiety, but with assurance. Rise not with fear, but with fire, because God is about to honor your faith with fulfillment. You are walking into a season where what was empty will overflow. What was stagnant will accelerate. What was barren will bear fruit. And it won't be by accident. It will be the manifestation of every hidden prayer, every quiet seed, every unnoticed act of obedience. Because God does not forget. God does not overlook. God does not mock the faith of those who put their full weight on His Word. So prepare yourself. Clean the house of your mind. Sweep out doubt.
Open the windows of expectation. Set the table of faith, because God is coming to dine with you in the form of breakthrough. The knock you've been waiting for is about to come, and when you answer, you will find not a visitor, but victory. Not just relief, but restoration. Not just provision, but peace. The kind of peace that settles deep and silences every fear. Stand tall. Walk forward. Remain faithful. Because the door over your finances is going to open, not through your own struggle, but through the perfect timing of God. And when it opens, you will not feel crushed by it. You will be filled with joy. Not caught off guard, but deeply certain that this is part of what you were made for. You were never created to live consumed by worry. You were created to see the hand of God move. And you will see His power create a way where no way existed. That is His Word. That is what lies ahead of you. So do not be afraid. God will open the door. Let your heart settle into complete assurance. Let every anxious thought fall away. Every fear grow quiet. Every doubt lose its hold. The same God who made the heavens and the earth is the God who is watching over you. The same God who makes rivers run through the wilderness, who calls light out of darkness, who lifts the lowly from the dust. That very God is opening the door to your finances, not only to supply what you need, but to reveal His greatness through your life, not only to raise you up, but to make you a light for others. You have not been abandoned. You have not been forgotten. You are being readied for something far greater than you can see right now. And when the door opens, and it will, you will walk through it with strength, gratitude, and unwavering faith. You will not enter like someone defeated, but like someone who believes, not carrying shame, but carrying purpose, not held by worry, but lifted by worship, because it was God from the beginning, God who preserved you, God who sustained you, God who is now pouring blessing over you. So lift up your eyes, strengthen your spirit, keep standing firm, keep planting, keep trusting. The door is opening, and when it does, you will know with complete certainty that God did it. God alone. They cannot find peace after betraying you. Oh, how the soul shakes when the blade of betrayal cuts so deeply. Yet even deeper than the wound is the silence that comes afterward. You trusted them. You gave them access to your heart. You stood with them when others turned away. And now all that is left is a scar where loyalty once stood. Hear me carefully today. When someone betrays a heart that was sincere, they do not simply walk away untouched. They may act as though nothing happened. They may laugh. They may even display a life that looks full of happiness. But within them, a storm of unrest is raging far louder than they will ever confess. Because when you wound someone who has walked in the light of God, you open the door to disturbance within your own spirit. God saw what happened in secret. God heard the words spoken when you were not in the room. God saw the scheme before you ever noticed the change in their eyes. And when a person lays hands on what belongs to God, when they break down a soul that has been upheld by prayer, they do not step into peace. They step into spiritual conflict.
They may run toward new relationships, new distractions, and temporary pleasures, but they can never escape the sight of the Almighty. God will not allow His chosen ones to be crushed without consequence. Betrayal carries a price, not only in shattered trust, but in the loss of peace. Because peace is not something a person can create for themselves. It is a gift that only God can give. And here is the deeper truth. They believed hurting you would make them stronger. They thought removing you would lift them higher. But God does not bless promotion built on deception. God does not honor what is formed through betrayal. What they built through manipulation, He will bring down through justice. What they gain by causing you pain, they will lose according to divine order. And you must not waste your tears wondering whether they feel guilty. You must not trouble yourself asking if they sleep peacefully at night, because God has a way of turning rest into unrest when the conscience has been corrupted. Their laughter is hollow, their joy is borrowed, their peace is shattered because there is no refuge for the one who sins against the innocent without repentance. Some of you watching this right now, you've been walking with the age of being wronged. You've been trying to heal while pretending it didn't matter. But hear this, God kept the record, and not to destroy them with your hands, but to defend you with His own. God saw you cry in the night when no one else knew the depth of your pain. God heard the scream inside your soul when you had to smile around people who didn't know the betrayal you had endured. And while you were silent, God was not. While you were trying to move on, God was preparing something greater for you. Because those who carry pain with dignity will be honored by God in ways the world cannot understand. There is no peace for the one who betrays a pure soul. No matter how much they fake it, their spirit is restless, because peace is a fruit of righteousness, and betrayal severs the root of that righteousness. Their hands may be busy, their mouths may speak confidently, but deep within they are haunted by the echo of their actions. Every time they see someone who reminds them of you, their heart will twitch. Every time they try to connect with someone new, they will remember the bond they broke, because God designed memory to be a mirror. And in that mirror, they will see their guilt again and again. And until they bow to God in repentance, that mirror will never crack. It will show them what they tried to bury. God doesn't forget the faithful. God doesn't overlook the wounded. God doesn't sit idle while the betrayed sit in silence. You see, the world may celebrate the loud and the proud, but God walks with the quiet and the crushed. And when someone betrays a person who was loyal, who prayed, who gave, who stood by them with a heart rooted in God's love, they are not just betraying a human, they are offending the order of heaven. And heaven always responds, not with revenge, but with divine justice, not with bitterness, but with exposure. Sooner or later, what they did to you will speak louder than their lies. Sooner or later, God will let the truth rise from the soil they buried it in. You don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to fight them. You don't need to gather an army of people to believe your side. When God fights for you, He does not need a courtroom. He only needs time. And time in God's hands reveals all things. You see, a betrayer can never hide forever, because betrayal doesn't just break hearts. It breaks spiritual alignment. And when a person steps out of alignment with God by harming someone He protected, they step into a space where confusion reigns. That's why things don't work for them anymore. That's why they keep trying to build, but end up in ruins. That's why relationships fail, money slips away, peace vanishes, because they broke a covenant and God is not mocked. Let me tell you something, your pain has power. When given to God, your suffering becomes a seed, and every seed planted in tears will reap a harvest in joy. Don't despise your brokenness. Don't be ashamed of your scars. Those scars are evidence that you survived what was meant to destroy you.
And while they walk around with fake smiles, you are walking with divine oil.
God is restoring what you lost. God is multiplying your peace. God is raising you in silence while your enemies wonder why they feel so empty. Because you chose peace over revenge. You chose prayer over gossip. You chose God over vengeance. And that choice brings blessings that no betrayal can block.
Yes, they will feel the weight of what they've done. Not because you wish it upon them, but because God does not allow sin to go unnoticed. He is merciful, yes, but He is also just. And justice requires truth. Truth requires exposure, and exposure brings consequences. Their mind is not settled. Their nights are not peaceful. Their joy is not genuine. Because you cannot harm a heart aligned with God and expect to dance in the garden of peace. You can't take advantage of a prayerful soul and expect your plans to flourish. God interrupts the journey of the wicked when they harm the righteous. And you, child of God, are the righteous, not because you are perfect, but because your trust was placed in Him. They thought you were weak, but your silence was strength. They mistook your kindness for naivety, but your restraint was wisdom. They believed they got away with it, but God was watching. And when God watches, He also weighs. And when He weighs, He judges. And when He judges, He repays. Don't doubt the process. Don't let the slowness of justice confuse you. God doesn't operate on man's calendar. He allows the betrayer to walk a little further so that their fall is seen by all. Not to humiliate, but to demonstrate that no one can outsmart the King of Heaven. No one can escape the gaze of the one who sits high and looks low. And you, yes, you who were betrayed, you are being restored right now, in silence, in stillness, in secret. God is healing places in you that you didn't even know were broken. God is repairing trust, not so you trust them again, but so you can live again without fear. God is putting joy back where sorrow lived. He's placing laughter where grief had its grip. Because the pain they caused is not the end of your story, it is the beginning of a new one. A story where God gets the glory for lifting you above the storm. A story where the people who counted you out will have to watch God count you in. They thought they buried you, but God was planting you. They thought they ruined your peace, but God was teaching you how to carry peace that can't be stolen. They thought they won, but the only one who wins is the one who walks with God. You see, betrayal doesn't break the blessed. It only prepares them for more. The more pain you endured, the more God is about to release. And while they walk with the weight of their choices, you will rise with the wings of your calling. Because the one who is wrong becomes the one God vindicates. And vindication is coming, not in whispers, but in undeniable divine manifestation. You, however, are not bound by what they did. You are free. Free to rise, free to walk forward, free to love again without fear, free to build a life soaked in peace, guarded by grace, and covered in favor. Because God is with you, God is for you, God is restoring everything they tried to take. And not only is He restoring, it will be better than before. They can't find peace because peace is with you. They can't rest because you were their peace and they broke it. But you, child of God, are rising. Keep walking. Keep trusting. Keep holding your peace,
because God is fighting for you. And let me tell you, there is something sacred about being wronged when your heart was right. There is something holy about suffering quietly under the weight of injustice. When your soul was clean and your hands were pure, you didn't respond with vengeance. You didn't stoop to their level. You didn't repay evil with evil. You took your pain to God. You placed your brokenness on the altar of faith. And that, beloved, is what heaven responds to. God never ignores the cries of the betrayed. And when you suffer in silence, but trust in God's justice, you are drawing the very power of heaven into your situation. Their betrayal didn't break you. It revealed them. It pulled the mask off. It uncovered what was hiding beneath smiles and shallow praise. And while they walked away thinking they won, they didn't know they were walking into the wilderness of unrest. Because no one who harms a sincere heart escapes the consequences of their own choices. God does not need to punish through lightning and thunder. God punishes by removing peace. And when God removes peace from a person's life, everything else begins to unravel. They can't concentrate. They can't connect. They can't be still. Why? Because betrayal opens a spiritual door. And once that door is open, only God can close it. And only after repentance, you who were betrayed, God did not allow it to destroy you. He allowed it to position you. There is a lesson in the pain. There is promotion in the loss. There is glory in what seemed like defeat. Because God does not build His strongest warriors in comfort. He builds them in conflict. You are not weak because you were betrayed. You are strong because you endured it and kept your integrity intact. You are chosen not because you were perfect, but because you never let the betrayal make you bitter. You didn't let the lie make you a liar. You didn't let the hate turn you into someone you were never meant to be. And because of that, God is elevating you, not in secret, but in plain sight. The more they try to forget what they did to you, the louder it echoes in their soul. Because when you betray a person whose life is anchored in God, you do not just betray a friend. You violate a covenant that was built not on convenience, but on spiritual alignment. And God doesn't allow those covenants to be broken without consequence. The moment they chose to betray, they chose unrest. They may laugh in public, but in private, they wrestle. They may post pictures of peace, but behind the scenes, they're tormented by guilt and confusion. And this is not something you cause. This is something God allows, because guilt is the tool God uses to invite people back to truth. And until they face that guilt, they will never know peace again. You need to understand this. God doesn't need your enemies to confess to you. God doesn't need them to apologize before He lifts you. God doesn't need them to fix what they broke before He blesses you beyond what they touched. Because when God blesses you after betrayal, it is a declaration that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. It is a testimony that their betrayal couldn't block your destiny. And when they see you standing taller, speaking clearer, walking in deeper favor, they will realize they didn't stop anything. They only revealed everything. You don't have to shout about the betrayal. You don't have to make announcements. Let God be your announcement. Let your healing be your answer. Let your growth be your vindication. Because every time you smile in peace, you're defeating the enemy without lifting a hand. Every time you walk in confidence, you're reminding the spiritual realm that God's favor is not dependent on man's loyalty. Every time you praise despite the pain, you are pulling down blessings that no one can reverse. You are proof that what the enemy meant for evil, God can turn for good. And to the one who still feels heavy with the betrayal, hear me now. Don't allow what they did to harden your heart. The enemy wants you bitter. He wants you closed.
He wants you to stop trusting, stop loving, stop believing in goodness. But God is calling you to rise above that. God is saying, what I have for you is still on the way. No betrayal can cancel what I've decreed. Don't lose your softness because of their hardness. Don't lose your light because they chose darkness. You keep walking in faith because faith is your weapon and God is your shield. And when you pray, pray not just for your healing, but for their conviction. Not because you want them punished, but because you want them awakened. Because only when the betrayer returns to truth can they ever begin to find peace again. And if they don't, if they continue to justify their deception, if they keep walking in pride and denial, then know this: God will continue to block their peace. He will frustrate their plans. He will turn their victories into vapor, because you cannot build joy on the foundation of someone else's pain. You cannot construct peace with the bricks of betrayal. The most dangerous place to be is outside of God's favor. And that's exactly where betrayal places a person. They step out of alignment. They lose the covering. And in that spiritual exposure, everything becomes fragile. Friendships fail. Plans collapse. Doors that once opened suddenly shut. Because the betrayal didn't just sever the relationship, it severed their access to divine order. Until they return to humility, until they face the weight of what they've done, they will live with noise in their soul. And that noise is the sound of God knocking. That noise is the sound of conviction, refusing to sleep. But you, God, is quieting your spirit. You're not tormented. You're not bitter. You're not walking around trying to prove your worth. God is doing that for you. Behind closed doors, in silent moments, God is whispering comfort into your wounds. He's pouring oil where it hurts. He's giving you wisdom you didn't have before. He's opening doors betrayal tried to shut. And those doors, oh, they are only for you. They are not for the one who betrayed. Because God doesn't reward disloyalty. He rewards endurance. He rewards those who stayed faithful even while walking through fire. And let this be a reminder. What was meant to harm you is being turned into holy ground. The very situation that hurt you is the one God is using to build your character, strengthen your discernment, and anchor your soul even deeper in Him. You're not just healing, you're becoming. You're becoming stronger, wiser, softer, more powerful, more discerning, and all of it is preparation for what's coming. Because God will not let this betrayal define you. He will let it refine you. He will use it to raise you. They can't find peace after betraying you, because peace does not visit those who trample on trust without remorse. You see, trust is sacred in the eyes of God. It's not a light thing. It's not something to be played with or discarded. When someone places their trust in another, it is a divine exchange, a spiritual bond. And when that trust is broken, not by mistake, but by deliberate betrayal, God does not stay silent. God steps in. God deals not with the surface, but with the soul. The betrayer may appear calm to the world, but inside their soul is in turmoil because God has disturbed the waters of their peace. They carry a heaviness they can't explain. They walk with a shadow they can't outrun. They look for rest and distraction and noise in new faces, but rest eludes them because God has not permitted them to be free. Why? Because the one they hurt was not walking alone. The one they abandoned was not standing without covering. That soul they shattered was wrapped in the favor of God.
And God says, "Touch not what I have blessed. Do no harm to those I have set apart." And when they crossed that line, they didn't just sin against man. They offended the holiness of God's divine order. Let me speak this with clarity. God protects the heart that walks uprightly. And when someone defiles that heart with treachery, they reap storms instead of serenity. God is not passive about betrayal. He does not look the other way when a loyal heart is wounded by someone who had every chance to do right. God delays sometimes, yes, but that delay is never denial. The delay is the testing of your character and the exposure of theirs. God allows space not to forget what was done, but to give room for repentance. But if repentance does not come, God deals with the betrayer in ways that no man can. You need to understand, betrayal breaks more than a bond. It invites spiritual consequences. It opens the door for confusion, for sorrow, for unexplainable discomfort. That's why they can't settle. That's why relationships after you fail. That's why opportunities slip through their fingers, because they carry unrepented sin that they've refused to face. And until they humble themselves before God, they will continue to feel as if something is missing. Because something is missing. The peace that comes from alignment with God is gone. And without that peace, even success feels empty. Even joy feels forced. Even sleep becomes restless. But hear this, you who were betrayed, God is using your pain as a platform. God is turning your heartache into holy authority. You are not just a survivor of betrayal, you are being raised as a witness of God's justice. When others see what you've endured and how you carry it with grace, they'll know that God lives in you. Not because you shouted or fought back, but because you kept walking when you had every reason to fall. You kept loving when you had every reason to hate. You kept believing even when everything around you was shaking. That is strength. That is power. That is the result of trusting God when it hurts the most. The betrayer cannot sleep, not because you cursed them, but because God removed His covering from their life. And once that covering is lifted, everything changes. Where there was once clarity, now there's confusion. Where there was once favor, now there's frustration. That's what betrayal does. It burns bridges not just between people, but between the betrayer and God. Because God is not mocked. Whatever a man swiss, that he shall reap. If they sow betrayal, they will reap sorrow. If they plant deception, they will harvest disappointment. And it will continue until they return to God with truth in their heart. You don't need to track their downfall. You don't need to monitor their regret. Let God do what only God can do. You focus on your healing. You focus on your growth. Because while they suffer under the weight of their choices, you are being lifted by the hand of God. What they meant for harm is becoming your foundation. The very pain they caused is birthing new strength, new discernment, new purpose in you. They took something from you, yes, but they also awakened something in you. And that something is unstoppable. Because when you survive betrayal with your faith intact, God begins to elevate you in ways no human hand can prevent. Let me tell you something else. They will never find another you. No matter where they go, no matter who they meet, they will always remember the light you carried. And that memory will follow them, not to glorify you, but to convict them. Because when someone walks away from a connection that God ordained, they walk into a desert of spiritual isolation. They may be surrounded by people, but their soul is alone. They may gain applause, but they've lost the presence of God that once visited them through you. And unless they face that loss with humility, the peace they long for will remain a distant dream. God will keep building you while they keep breaking down. God will keep speaking to your soul while their spirit remains silent. You see, the reward of integrity is divine favor, and favor is better than revenge.
Favor lifts when betrayal tries to pull you down.
Favor opens doors no enemy can shut. Favor surrounds you like a shield. And no matter what they try to do to replicate your peace, they can't access it. Because your peace wasn't man-made, your peace was placed by God. And God is not done with you, not even close. What you went through was not your end, it was your awakening. You see more now, your vision is sharper, you love more deeply, but now you carry wisdom with it. You still trust, but now you do it with discernment. That betrayal refined your spirit, and what was meant to break you has made you spiritually powerful, powerful against the enemy, because you know what it is to be crushed and still remain standing. You know what it is to lose and still give thanks. You know what it is to be betrayed and still protect your peace. A soul like that cannot be easily shaken. So while they try to rebuild without repentance, you are building according to the design of God. While they struggle beneath the weight of regret, you rise on the strength of resilience. Never believe they escaped what they did. No one moves beyond the justice of God. It may not arrive as visible destruction, but it will show itself in the absence of divine peace. And that kind of suffering reaches deeper than anything outward ever could. Because when God removes peace, the soul becomes trapped within itself. So I tell you again, do not run after explanations. Do not wait for apologies. Do not plead for closure. Place it all in the hands of God. Your vindication belongs to Him, and He is faithful. He will not allow your suffering to be without purpose. He will not allow your tears to fall without harvest. He will not allow the one who wounded you to walk away without consequence. Their torment may be hidden, but it is real. Their regret speaks the loudest in their quietest hours,
And until they come before God in true humility and remorse,
that unrest will follow them wherever they go. But you, keep walking in confidence. Walk knowing that God has seen every tear and heard every cry. Walk assured that your peace is being guarded by the one who rules over all. And hold on to this truth. The peace God is giving you now is not fragile. It does not depend on people doing what is right. It is rooted in your relationship with Him. And no betrayal, no matter how deep, can remove what God has secured in your spirit. They may have wounded your heart, but they couldn't touch your purpose. They may have lied on your name, but they couldn't erase your anointing. And as they wrestle with what they lost, you will continue to rise in what you've gained. Wisdom, strength, peace, and a deeper walk with the only one who never betrays, God. And I declare to you today with unshakable boldness, when a person betrays a heart that was shaped by God, when they turn their back on someone who walked in humility, who extended grace, who honored them with loyalty, they do not simply walk away, they walk into the courtroom of the Almighty. And God does not dismiss such cases lightly. God deals with betrayal not with human emotion, but with divine authority. He measures it, He judges it, He acts on it, not to satisfy your anger, but to uphold the order of justice and righteousness in the world He created. There are spiritual consequences that ripple through time when a heart is pierced unjustly. Betrayal is not just an act against another person. It is an offense against the principle of trust that God Himself designed.
And God, who sees into every hidden corner, does not allow such offenses to fade quietly. He may be silent for a season, but His silence is never consent. His patience is not approval. It is space. Space for repentance. Space for awakening. Space for the betrayer to recognize the weight of their actions. But if that space is ignored, it transforms into judgment. If that time is wasted, it turns into torment, because peace cannot exist where God has not allowed it to settle. And many walk today with smiles on their faces, but war in their hearts. They've betrayed someone pure and are now hunted by a guilt they cannot name. They try to fill their days with noise, with distractions, with accomplishments, but none of it satisfies. None of it silences the restless soul, because God has blocked the flow of peace until they turn from their deceit and face the truth. God will not allow them to rest in comfort while the one they wronged was left bleeding. That is not the way of the Almighty. God lifts the oppressed and humbles the arrogant. God strengthens the loyal and dismantles the deceitful. You may ask, why did God allow me to be betrayed in the first place? Why would He let me carry such pain? Hear me now. Because what they meant to shatter you, God allowed to shape you. What they thought would end you, God is using to elevate you. Every tear you cried watered the soil of your future. Every moment you spent questioning why they turned against you was a moment God was pulling you closer to Him. And now He is rebuilding you, not as you were, but stronger, wiser, and more anointed than ever before. The betrayal wasn't the end. It was the beginning of God revealing what He put in you that no man could take away. Do not be deceived by appearances. The betrayer may appear to thrive. They may even look happier than ever. But you must understand, God's judgment is not always immediate, and His justice is not always visible. Sometimes it is internal, sometimes it is silent, but it is never absent. There is no escape from the hand of God when you harm what He has protected. And you, beloved, have always been protected. Even when you felt exposed, even when it looked like you were alone, even when you were abandoned, God was watching, God was keeping, God was preparing. You were not forsaken. You were hidden under divine observation. And to those who continue to carry the wound of betrayal in silence, let this truth settle in your spirit. God is your healer and your witness. You don't need revenge. You don't need validation from people. You don't need those who betrayed you to say your name again or fix what they broke. Because what they broke, God is restoring. And what God restores cannot be destroyed again. You see, their betrayal tore something in the natural, but it awakens something in the spiritual. You are now walking in a new realm of authority, because only those who have suffered can truly speak with depth. And only those who have lost everything can fully appreciate what God restores. And as for those who wronged you, they will begin to feel the absence of what they once dismissed. They will realize too late that they had access to something rare, something real, something rooted in God. And when that realization hits, it won't come gently. It will come like thunder in the night. Because peace cannot abide in a heart that is unrepentant. They may blame others. They may pretend they're fine. But deep within, they know something's not right. Because you cannot uproot a connection ordained by God and expect your life to remain the same. Let your heart rest in this assurance. God is fighting battles
you will never see. God is confronting lies you never heard. God is correcting wrongs you didn't even know were done. And you will not need to defend yourself, for your silence has spoken louder than words. God will raise your name in rooms where your enemies tried to bury it. God will use your pain to open doors that no betrayal could lock. And when the time comes, those who betrayed you will see what they lost, not to glorify you, but to magnify the power of God who kept you through it all. And hear me again. Do not envy the temporary comfort of those who betrayed you, for what they have is fleeting. What they carry is poison. And unless they pour it out before God and beg for cleansing, it will continue to eat away at their soul. Because peace is not found in pretending. It is found in surrender. Peace is not bought through distraction. It is given only through alignment with truth. And as long as they deny what they did, they remain out of alignment. And that is the evidence of God's hand on your life. That is the testimony that no betrayal can cancel your calling. That is the promise that what was meant for evil, God is turning for your good. You are not finished. You are being formed. Every time you choose peace over bitterness, you are rising. Every time you bless instead of curse, you are aligning with the favor of heaven. And you need God's Word. And His Word is clear. He is near to the brokenhearted. He lifts those who are crushed in spirit. He heals the wounds that man cannot see. They can't find peace after betraying you, because peace is not simply the absence of conflict. It is the presence of alignment with God. And when someone tears down a relationship forged in trust, when they trample on loyalty to advance their selfish gain, they do not walk into freedom. They walk into bondage. Bondage of the mind, of the spirit, of the conscience. It is a quiet prison, but it is real. And God, who is the judge of hearts, allows that unrest to grow louder, not to destroy, but to awaken. Because until they face what they've done under the light of truth, they will wander through life wearing masks, smiling for the world, but weeping in their soul. God designed relationships to reflect His order: truth, honor, accountability. And when someone betrays that order, they step into opposition with the very structure God set in place. This is why it matters. This is why betrayal doesn't end when the person walks away. The betrayal lives on until it is confessed, confronted, and cleansed through true humility before God. It lingers in their thoughts. It invades their rest, and it follows them like a shadow, because the weight of sin cannot be shrugged off with distraction. It must be surrendered. And until the betrayer bows in surrender, they will carry the consequences in every step they take. Now let me tell you something you may not have considered. Sometimes God allows betrayal not to show you who they were, but to show you who you are in Him. God allows the disloyal to reveal themselves, not to break you, but to break the illusions you once held. You saw potential in them. You saw sincerity. You saw love. But God saw their heart. God saw the motive behind their words. God saw the snake beneath the smile. And rather than let you build your future on unstable ground, God allowed it to crumble because He would rather you weep for a moment than build your life around a lie. That pain you felt was not for nothing. That storm you endured was not wasted. It stripped you of illusion, but it clothed you in discernment. It cost you some tears, but it crowned you with truth. And now you are no longer blind. You are no longer desperate for validation. You are no longer clinging to people who were never sent by God. Now you are standing not with brokenness, but with clarity. And that clarity is your power. because a heart that sees clearly can no longer be fooled by charm or deceived by words. A soul aligned with God is a soul that cannot be easily shaken again. And while the betrayer tries to rewrite the story to make themselves the victim to justify their deception, God is still writing your testimony. A testimony not built on revenge but redemption, not built on bitterness but betterment. You are not what they did to you. You are who God is, shaping through the fire. Every tear became a brick in your new foundation. Every lie they told became a lesson God used to refine your voice. And now your life speaks louder than any rumor they spread, because the favor of God cannot be canceled by betrayal. It can only be revealed by it. Listen now. Do not confuse their silence for peace. Do not mistake their absence for healing. The loudest suffering is often the most hidden. God is not mocked. What they sow into your life in pain, they will reap in isolation until they come face to face with the truth. And here is what you must understand. It's not your job to punish. It's not your burden to carry justice. God does not need your hands. He needs your surrender. When you let go of the need to be repaid, God takes over and repays you with blessings they could never provide. God repays with wisdom. God repays with peace. God repays with doors they tried to close, but He opens wider than ever. And even now, even as they pretend nothing happened, God is speaking to their soul. He is stirring conviction. He is shining a light into the corners they've tried to keep dark. Because there is no peace for a person who walks away from what was pure. There is no rest for the one who wounds the hand that fed them, loved them, prayed for them. God does not allow that to go unchallenged. And though you may not see it, the correction of God is fierce, and it is personal, not to destroy, but to restore, not to shame, but to awaken. But if they harden their heart, if they ignore His stirring, then God allows the silence to become their storm. And that storm does not look like fire falling from the sky. No, it looks like nights without rest. It looks like joyless success. It looks like gaining what they wanted but not wanting what they gained, because peace cannot be purchased. It cannot be faked. It cannot be copied. It is given only by God to the one whose heart is clean. And no matter how much they try to fill their lives, they will find themselves returning to the memory of what they lost. You, your light, your loyalty, your prayers, your presence, not because you were perfect, but because you were real. And when someone betrays something real, they open themselves to a life of pretense. They begin to wear masks. They begin to chase illusions. They begin to become what they never imagined: cold, distant, detached. Why? Because their spirit is no longer grounded, and only God can re-anchor them. Only God can bring them back. But until that happens, they will move from one false peace to another, never tasting the stillness that you now carry. Because what they broke in you, God rebuilt with a foundation they'll never understand unless they too walk through the fire of repentance. But you, beloved soul, you are not who you were before the betrayal. You are wiser now. You are stronger now. You see beyond words now. You no longer attach yourself to people just because of history or chemistry. Now you move with discernment. Now you consult God before you open your heart. Now you understand that some losses were God's protection in disguise. And that betrayal, that was God's mercy, pulling you out of something that would have poisoned your future. Let the betrayer walk their path. Let them face their choices. Your assignment is not to rescue them. Your assignment is to keep walking in integrity, to keep praying in silence, to keep trusting in God's timing. Because every step you take in obedience is a step further from pain and closer to purpose. And soon what hurt you will become what heals others. Soon your story will bring light to someone else lost in darkness. And when that day comes, you'll see it clearly. It was never about what they did. It was always about what God was doing in you. So stand tall, not in pride, but in peace, because peace is the inheritance of those who trust God above all else. Peace is the reward of the faithful. And though they tried to steal it, though they thought their betrayal would destroy you, God has used it to crown you, crowned not with gold, but with grace, crowned not with applause, but with authority. And that crown, no betrayer can take it from you, because it was given not by man, but by God. And what God places on your life, no lie, no abandonment, no betrayal can remove. So walk forward, walk fearless. Let your footsteps echo with confidence in the one who holds your tomorrow. Let your presence be a reminder that you were hurt, yes, but not halted. Betrayed, yes, but not broken. And let the world see that peace does not come from people. It comes from God. And you, beloved, have peace, not because they stayed, but because God never left. So now hear this final truth and let it be carved deep into your heart. They can't find peace after betraying you. Not because you demanded vengeance, not because you desire evil for them, but because God stands for what is right. Peace is not something people can manufacture. It is a gift that comes from God. It rests in the hearts of those who walk in integrity, and it slips away from those who choose deception. When someone betrays a soul that is covered by God, they are not merely wounding a person. They are pushing against an order that God Himself has set in place. And until they return to what is true, until they humble themselves before the one they have wronged, peace will stay far from them. Joy will remain unfinished, and their soul will know no rest. But you, the one who was betrayed, overlooked, and misunderstood, lift up your head. You are not defined by what happened to you. You are being shaped by what God is doing in you. You walked through the fire and came out carrying wisdom. You survived the storm, and now you carry a deep stillness within you. Let them speak. Let them twist the story. Let them keep pretending. But you hold the evidence. Evidence that God restores, that God heals, and that God lifts up those who fall into His hands with tears on their face and faith in their heart. You do not need their apology in order to live with purpose. You do not need their return in order to step into your destiny. God is enough, and God has already gone before you. He has turned betrayal into a bridge, loss into a lesson, and sorrow into strength. While they struggle in silence, trying to outrun what only repentance can heal, you will remain at rest. You will continue to grow. You will shine, because peace does not belong to the betrayer. Peace belongs to the one who stayed faithful. And you, beloved soul, have remained faithful. So walk forward boldly into the life God is preparing for you. Let your peace speak more powerfully than their regret ever could.